Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to the Winning Drive. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by fellow lifetime Longhorn, the young prodigy, C.J. Vogel. Also joined by our own coach, former high school football coach at Bernie, Capel, Brownwood, Belton, Rotan. Also played college football at Abilene Christian, coached there as well, and was on the staff at the University of Texas for multiple head football coaches. And these days, you can catch his work at ShipleyRanches.com. It's our own coach, Bob Shipley. What's going on, Coach? How you doing? And where you at, Coach? Are you sitting in the car these days?
Hey, I'm just sitting in my office here. You know, you know how the business is. I got kicked out of my house, so I'm in my truck for right now.
All right, see that. See, Coach.
Anyway, wife had some company over. Yeah, she had some important business coming over, like somebody going to buy her house type of visitor.
Oh yeah, it's cash on the line.
There we are. So, there I am.
Yeah, there's money on the line. Are you in the driveway?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'll sit in the truck for that. No, yeah, I'm out on the street corner. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad Coach could join us. No doubt about that. CJ Vogel, of course, we'll get to the big news on the 40 acres, and the big news is bad news. It was breaking bad news earlier. And shout out to my man CJ Vogel because he was one of the great reporters here at On Texas Football that dropped that news. So thank you, CJ, for the great effort there on that Andre Cojo story. But for those who haven't heard, I'm sure by now you have. Say it ain't so. Cojo, yes, looks like a knee injury has him out for the rest of the season. CJ, you were one of our insiders on this story. Tell us what you know about what went down about the Cojo injury.
Yeah, really, really unfortunate for Andre Cojo. We'll miss all of 2025 with a knee injury. Of course, the specifics will be confirmed here later today, tomorrow. But injury occurred on Saturday. Texas practice inside of DKR. Of course, as offensive linemen do, you have your knee braces on, but you're still susceptible to getting rolled up on, and it sounds like that's what ended up happening for Cojo. One of those really unfortunate things. Again, Cojo came into camp in that battle for right tackle. According to Cal Flood, according to Steve Sarkisian, they had spoken pretty highly about the third-year right tackle, saying this was going to be a year in which he competed for that starting gig at right tackle with Brandon Baker. Of course, things have since changed. Cojo no longer going to be a piece of that puzzle for this year. Of course, we do wish him a very speedy recovery. We hope that he's on the field, but that's a tough injury to return from. Obviously, we've talked about it with a Derek Williams. We've talked about it with a CJ Baxter, but doing so at 340 pounds, I mean, that's a long road. So we're hopeful that this is something that he can come back for and be ready to go by next summer, next fall camp as well. But right now, it sounds like Texas down a pretty important piece of their depth puzzle, if you will, with Cojo out for the remainder of the 25 season.
Definitely clarifies things, Coach, for Brandon Baker, who was in a open competition with Cojo. A lot of people expected Baker to win that job, but now it's obviously that's a no-brainer. It is his job pretty much to lose. He actually brought up the third tackle when he was talking to the media, how important it is to find that third tackle. What does this do for the third tackle position, guys? We know now, of course, Trevor Gooseby, Brandon Baker are your tackles. Is it just Jaden Chapman's going to be that guy? Because he's played a lot of different positions.
My bad. I was sending out the watch with us tweet. But it's going to be interesting because this morning I put up on Texas Football, and if you're not subscribed there, we got the insider nuggets from this week and also this morning when Texas was in the bubble. But Nick Brooks already starting to get some run at that first team at right tackle. So look, yes, Andre Cojo, very unfortunate. He's gone down, but Texas has been trying to find ways to build that depth already this fall camp. Nick Brooks, one of those pieces, right? We heard a great deal about him in the spring. Now being cross-trained at both positions, of course, he was that next guy behind Trevor Gooseby at left tackle. Now, obviously, with the loss of Cojo, you're going to move him over to right side and see if he can then back up a Brandon Baker. But he got some first-team run. He and Baker split off some series earlier this afternoon. Again, this is the first padded practice of fall camp. Texas, as we've seen throughout all of Sarkisian's tenure, prone, and I don't think this is just, singling out Sark here. This happens all over fall camp. Coach, you can attest to it as well. But you're susceptible to losing guys. 2 injuries for short amount of time, long amount of time, the entire season. Texas obviously unfortunately hit with Cojo today. But Nick Brooks is that next guy up, and Chapman, who's gotten run at guard and tackle, figures to be a piece of that depth puzzle later on as well. Worth mentioning here too, Jordan Coleman is working at right tackle. He was that kind of 3rd or 4th piece guy. Of course, he arrived first week of June in the summer. So he's got a long way to go before he's ready to see a Colin Simmons level edge rusher on a down-to-down. But that's kind of how the pecking order plays out with Cojo sidelined for the season.
Yeah. Coach, what are you doing? You have an injury?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say you hate to see it anytime. At least Brooks and those guys, had a good week of practice under their belt before starting to, work both sides of the ball. And, it's what Trevor Gooseby did last year. He wound up coming up big for us, being able to go in at the left or the right side. And it is unfortunate, but who was it? Ohio State lost one of their key defensive front guys last week, almost first rattle out of the bucket. So it's unfortunate. And it seems like that it's an ongoing theme with Texas, unfortunately. Again, sometimes you're just snake bit. I don't think it has anything to do. I think we've got the best staff in the country. We've got a great strength staff. We've got a great medical staff. It's just an unfortunate thing. And you don't want to look at it this way, but the truth is when you see an injury and you see what happened to CJ Baxter last year, you can always say, it could have been worse. I mean, you hate to say that for any young man, especially a guy like Cojo, but could be Arch Manning, could be, Simmons, could be a starter that we're counting on, an All-American type guy. So anyway, I'm just trying to look at the bright side of it. There is no bright side to it, obviously.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Coach. I mean, that's the reality of football. Knock it on wood, you're going to lose guys. You just don't know where it's going to be. And you don't know what your game plan is going to be because you don't know necessarily how it's going to affect. I mean, think about this Cojo injury, right? So let's just say Jaden Chapman was going to be kind of your swing guy, where now he's got to become, instead of a swing guy that can help you at a lot of different positions, like you said, CJ, he's got to focus on tackle. You got to expedite the development of a young guy, Nick Brooks, who maybe you were just going to let him, kind of slowly come along. And now you're like, nah, actually, we're going to have to push you because, knock on wood, anything else happens on that O-line, those guys got to play right away. And then that affects kind of the other way, you're cross-training guys and how you're building the rotation and the depth. So one injury has a domino effect, especially when the guy's out for the season. That's a serious domino effect. At least hey, that guy's not coming back. So the pieces they're working with are going to be the pieces that we build with. But right now, for an offensive line that had a lot of unproven commodities that were stepping up already, who I think we are all confident in, we're going to be able to get the job done. Now, if the depth that you had behind those guys is mostly inexperienced, very young depth. And on the line, that can, that can come back to haunt you because, you want those guys to have some time in the program, strength and conditioning, nutrition, all that kind of stuff. So Texas has to speed up the development of a lot of guys behind the scenes. So Jade Chapman, I think it puts a lot of pressure on him, more so than anyone, in my opinion, because that third tackle spot, he's definitely going to be the next guy up if something happens, knock on wood, to one of your tackles. But also I think for him, ultimately, it's time for him to show that he is trustworthy enough for the coaches to consider him to be, the next guy up, as they always say, coach, the next man up, that there's no need to worry or stress out at tackle position, that Jaden Chapman can handle either one of those spots because he's definitely your third tackle now. There's no question. Yeah. Or is it Nick Brooks? I mean, you let me know, CJ. I assume the experienced guy gets the third tackle spot, but I can be up.
I would think early on experience would lean out, but look, I think the Texas staff really, really likes Nick Brooks so far. Now, does that change, or does he hold firm in that spot? Moving as fall camp continues, we'll have to wait and see. Of course, today was only day one of the padded practices, but we've also seen guys kind of use the fall camp to jump others. Right, it hasn't happened all too often with the offensive line. Texas and Kyle Flood have basically had their firm set of guys each year going into the spring. But look, Kelvin Banks arrived in the summer, and basically each week of fall camp, he was in a different team, rising that depth chart. So could that happen to Nick Brooks? Could he eventually win out at right tackle? Again, too early to tell right now as he again gets acclimated to kicking with his left foot rather than his right, punching with his left hand rather than his right. It's a different mindset at the right tackle spot than left, but the talent is there. But to your point, and this is really where Texas doesn't, obviously, they losing offensive lineman hurts at any instance, right? Rare talents to have there, but more so at tackle, right? Texas not necessarily deep at the tackle positions. Who does kick out? I know that there have been some comments in the chat who might kick out.
Yeah.
Jaden Chapman, as you mentioned, is one. It's interesting. I don't know right now. Could it be, just a Jordan Coleman rising the ranks? Could it be who I thought might be a solid tackle prospect in Anedo Umeozulu, perhaps as an emergency guy? But look, Texas has basically just used him as a guard option over the last 3+ years. But I do know Texas is deeper on the interior, especially with the Nate Kibble coming along. Texas likes what they have in Jackson Christian. So if they do have to move somebody from the inside, that's the guy I've kind of had circled here. I've not heard that, so it's not sourced. There's no real thinking behind the scenes at Texas in that instance, but my mind is saying he fits the criteria: good feet, big body, long arms. That would be my piece there.
Yeah. No, it's good stuff. CB says, was it around this time last year the Baxter injury happened? I know it was early. I don't remember if it was
about a week and a half from today.
I think it was earlier.
Was it?
Later.
Maybe, because I can't really remember. I remember it was tragic. It was
there we go.
August 7th, 2024. Okay, yeah. So a few days from now. So hopefully this is the last of the bad news you hear. I mean, honestly, that's the one thing you want to hear through training camp and say, guys, get through it healthy, aside from the reports about who's playing well and who's performing well and executing well, is just make sure mostly that your main guys and your starters are healthy through training camp. All right. We're going to have later on, of course, we have our Monday guest coming on later on. Stevie Lee, I expect, will join us. But first, let's thank our first sponsor of today's program. Let's thank our friends over at Von Lane. Before we move on, thank you very much to Von Lane for their continued support and sponsorship of On Texas Football. I know a lot of you out there traveling between and to the major cities in Texas, whether it be Houston or Austin or San Antonio or Dallas or Fort Worth. And let's admit, it's a bit of a toss-up, right? Do you deal with the airport chaos and the general high stress levels of any airport experience and hope your flight isn't delayed? Or do you brace yourself for hours behind the wheel, battling traffic, battling road rage, burning an entire day of productivity, all trying to make that drive? Well, there's a better way, and it is honestly the best option available. Our friends over at Von Lane. You arrive at a luxury hotel terminal, no TSA lines, no long-term parking lots, just a seamless boarding experience that takes minutes, not hours. You'll settle into one of just 22 oversized first-class plush leather seats with 140-degree recline, leg rest, and a cabin attendant serving complimentary snacks, beverages, and on select trips, a full meal if you like. And if you need to relax, well, that's easy. You can just sit back and enjoy the ride. But if you want to stay productive, that's easy as well. They make it easy for you. There's high-speed Wi-Fi and power at every seat. Fall travel is booking fast, so reserve your spot right now. October trips to Texas versus OU in Dallas, F1 and ACL in Austin, our college football weekends in Nashville, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston. Von Lane connects Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Nashville, Tennessee, Atlanta, Memphis as well, and Knoxville now. The Woodlands and also Plano, Texas. They keep adding more and more cities to this list. Visit vonlane.com. Use that code OTF25 to save $20 off your first ride with Von Lane. VONLANE.com. That's vonlane.com. Von Lane, elevated regional bus transportation. I've taken it several times myself to Houston and to DFW. I love the Von Lane. My wife's a big fan of the Von Lane as well, and you will be too. So give them a chance. Thank you very much to our friends at Von Lane, vonlane.com. All right, I believe Stevie Lee is already with us, if I'm not mistaken. Boom, there he is. He's a busy man, but he makes time for the On Texas football family, and we appreciate it. My former teammate, lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee, joins us, courtesy of our good friends at Hargrove Roofing. Actually, hargroveroofing.com. You can hit them up, 512-645-3202. If you have any concerns or questions about your roof, leave it to the professionals at Hargrove Roofing. Don't try to DIY that stuff yourself. Trust me, you will regret it. Leave it to Hargrove Roofing. They have offices all over Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas. The most pro, even though I know they're in Louisiana, Arkansas, but they're the most pro burnt orange roofing company out there. That's why they have great partnerships with fine gentlemen like my man Stevie Lee. So we appreciate hardgroveroofing.com. Stevie, how was your weekend, brother?
It's going well, man. Well, it went well. Trying to spend these last couple days with my daughter and taking her to college on Tuesday, bro, dropping her off.
Wow. Okay, are you gonna cry?
I already cried, bro. I already cried.
You ain't even dropped off when you already cried.
I already cried, bro. I mean, it's crazy, man. I had 4 people in my house, and now I'm about to drop one off, man. This is weird. This is scary time, you know?
Yeah. No, that's just me. Yeah, I can't even imagine it. I can imagine that's got to be wild. And I'm not making fun of you because I'll probably end up crying in 18 years when I gotta drop my little one off somewhere. But because that's all you think about, right? You're thinking about when she was little, when she was a baby girl, and you were taking care of all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I get it. All right,
but what I am doing right now is I'm having a really good time. I'm playing a game. The next time y'all say next man up, I'm taking another shot. You know what I'm saying?
How about the
next
chat?
Man up? I said it like 8 times already. I'm already 8 shots in.
Yeah, let's get this thing interesting.
Hold up. I will say, I think I said it once. I've said it once since we've been on. So we've been on, 17 minutes? I did believe I said it once. Next man up.
Well, maybe you said it once, but it's been thrown around a lot.
Oh, I'm sure it's been thrown around a ton. Well, let's start there and give me your thoughts, because we got a few items we want to ask you about. Let's talk about the injury early on. I mean, Andre Cojo, unfortunately, I feel really bad for the young man. He's out for the season because of a knee injury. I don't know. Did you have a serious injury in your career? Stevie gave up beer, not liquor.
That's what I was laughing at. Exactly. No, yeah, man. I played my first 3 games as a true freshman, and then I broke my 5th metatarsal.
That's right.
Yeah, broke my foot and had to sit out. Had those 3 games erased from me. I was Casey Hampton's backup. So whenever he tapped his helmet, I was going in, and I got a good amount of playing time as a true freshman. And then I go to the trainer, and they touch my foot, and then I said, "Ooh, what was that?" And he was like, "We gotta go get an X-ray," and that was it for my whole season, man. I got a medical red shirt.
Damn. Yeah. Did you need surgery, or was it just?
Yeah, I did a surgery shortly after that. Yes, I did a surgery shortly after that, where they put a pin down my 5th metatarsal. That's your outside bone, your pinky toe bone in your foot. And then the first day back in pads. You know, remember we did kickoff return, and then we did automatic. So field goal. I was on the field goal block team. And the first day back after I rehabbed for almost a year, and I go to push off, and I snap that screw again. So the first day back in pads, and I had to have another surgery, pull that screw out. They did more of a deeper surgery in that, but that's me. No, I'm good now. You know, it's a screw in my foot, and I'm good. I don't want to be negative, man, but it's unfortunate going down in two-a-days like this, man. It's or camp. I guess they call it camp now. It's just really unfortunate going down, but you know, keep his head up. But what year is he?
He's a
3rd-year sophomore.
Sophomore. So he's still got a lot of time in front of him, man, and just there are going to be times when, you know, I'm just speaking from experience, where, in fact, I did my surgery at St. David's, and they put me in a room. It was like, oh, look, you can see the stadium. And I was like, I don't want to see that. You know, I'm supposed to be out there right now.
I don't want to see that. No,
I'm supposed to be over there playing.
Yeah. what people don't understand about injury, and you're right, the earlier it happens like that, it's actually, it's equally devastating no matter what. But the young man really didn't even get a chance to start competing at all, right?
Exactly.
The depression associated with it. Like
there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure associated with it that you are.
I mean, depression, like sadness, like you're sad and depressed because you're away from your team. That's
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. I was laughing earlier because I made the mistake of going back and looking at my transcript, and you can see my grades from when I broke my foot and when Cole Pittman died. That was all in the same era.
Wow.
And he and Cole and I went to high school together. So I'm dealing with trying to play college football, breaking my foot, and dealing with grieving a teammate, breaking my foot again. And it was a tough time. Luckily, I married this young lady that was my girlfriend at the time that really got me on the straight and narrow. That girl, I owe a lot to her for sure. So
that's deep, Stevie. Bro. See, this is why Stark has those what do you call it? Culture Tuesdays or whatever they are, where the guys share and they just talk about their feelings and what's going on. No football. This is why, because Stevie was going through. Like I knew you. We was all kind of going through it. I knew you was going through it. I didn't know it was compounded for you.
Yeah,
because you knew obviously Cole Pittman prior to coming to Texas, and then also your own injury and the depression associated with that, bro. Thank God you had a good woman in your life. But that's what I think that's what's important about what Sarkis does about the Culture Tuesday. Though you do need to share that. Like that's something you probably kept to yourself a lot and struggled with it. Just you and obviously you and your now wife struggling with that, and maybe opened up to your family about it. But you shouldn't carry that burden alone. Like your teammates, that's what teammates are for. They're there for that. So that's interesting. I didn't know that, Steve. You see, I found it out 20 years later. There you go.
It's all good. But hats off to the kid for working. And it really is, I'm going to take a shot, next man up mentality. It really is, man. Because I'm looking at these guys' sizes. I remember going out there and meeting most of these guys. They all look like badass football players, bro. Like, it really is like one goes down, you can plug and play. That's it right there. So I think that O-line will still be fine. I'm hearing but you go ahead. I don't want to take over, but just go ahead, man.
No. That's what you're here for, man. We want to get your thoughts on it. Sorry, I'm boss hogging here. CJ, you got something you want to ask Stevie?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about these injuries. They occur every year, whether it be at Texas, whether it be across the SEC. It's near impossible in this sport to keep guys from playing physically. And, injuries happen as a result. But Stevie, back in the day, I mean, what were the injury preventatives that coaches would go through? Is it just as easy as saying stay up? Because I know that's not, the football mentality of a football player, but that's basically all coaches can say to a certain extent.
Well, so when it got down to, getting close to game day, we actually take care of each other. And you got to learn how to practice. You understand? Yeah. So right now they are battling, trying to fight for spots on the field and things like that. So they're going hard, right? The O-line always had those big knee braces on. I remember talking to the rep that came in to size those guys for the knee braces. He was happy because once he sold knee braces to the whole team, he got a free trip to Hawaii. But anyway, hey man, you got to be a sales rep around here. So they would have those big knee braces on. They asked the D-line if they wanted them. I had a pair, didn't really wear them. But you prevent that way. But also when you are in practice getting ready for, going into game week, we go hard on Tuesdays. Well, back then we went hard on Tuesdays, but you would fit someone and then try to hold each other up, So if I'm running down the line and having gap integrity and my O-lineman, we're just competing still, but he don't want me on the ground. I don't want him on the ground because everybody that's following gonna pile up as well. Mm-hmm. So you don't want everybody on the ground, and that's people getting hurt. So you got to learn how to practice. Still get a good rep in, but learn how to practice to take care of each other once you get down to game week.
I'll ask both of y'all this because I know that we've heard some great stories from the two of y'all about camp, and over the weekend there was a part of practice that maybe got a little feisty, and Sark had the guys, line up, run some gassers as a result. But talk about the good and the bad that comes with that, because it's competitiveness as you talk about, but also when you are Sarkisian and when you're the University of Texas and your brand has been built on that culture, how do you make it so that that doesn't fracture it while still moving towards the right, the week one goal, if you will?
You want that one, Rod, or you want me to take it?
You take it. You the guest, man. You the
Well, for me, I think, and this is hindsight, I didn't know this while I was there, but we had really good off the field chemistry, right? We had we didn't even have team building things, or we were doing things that were team building that we didn't know that was team building. Like we would go drink together. So we have team chemistry, team building, but when we were on the field, we were fighting. Like I fought O-linemen, and another thing, when you're in football, you got to know how to fight. Never fight with your fists. You're going to hit somebody in a face mask with this right here to get them off you, And it's not a hard hit. It's just to get you off you. You got to know how to fight, And so we had and grab a face mask, shake them a little bit, and let them go back to their huddle. And it was done to me, and I did it to other people. So you got to know how to fight. You got to know how to practice, know how to fight, because and after practice, because I said all the part about us being team building and having chemistry is we're going to fight in practice, but we were still boys after practice. We'll talk about it. We're like, man, you shouldn't have grabbed my helmet like that. He was like, man, I was trying to reach you and this and that. And I'm like, don't do it again. All right, man. Y'all going to the dining hall? Yeah. All right, let's go get something to eat. It was just like that. We're going to fight and we're going to compete and fight in practice. And then we're going to be cool after that. We know those years that we did not have great teams. I'm not going to say under what regime, but I would go out to practice and there was no fight. There was no fight. It was everybody was handshaking and just going through the motions. And I was like, what the hell is this? And then we had a 5-win season. You know what I'm saying? And it starts there. Now, when I went back out the last couple of years and these boys was actually fighting, grabbing helmets, and coaches out there were trying to break things up and yapping at each other, I was like, here we go. Here we go. And I would leave smiling, you know what I'm saying? So you just need that competitive edge against your own teammates, Your goal is to be to practice good on good to where the game is going to be easy, And I think Sark is he's building that culture or has built that culture already.
Yep, Sark's big on good. Nick Saban model. As much as we can, we're gonna get our ones against the ones when we can and do that kind of evaluation. But to Steve's point, I literally can hear Mac in my head now yelling, "Stay on the ground, stay up, stay up,
stay up, stay up."
He's right. That's where most of your injuries occur if guys are on the ground. If I'm closing in at the catch point on a wide receiver and I go in with reckless abandon and BJ or Roy ends up on the ground, that's mostly me. That's on Rod B. Because I can control that situation. I can get my work in with like I said, being a good teammate and making sure I let Roy know I'm there. Oh, he gonna know I'm there. All right, but I ain't got to unload on him. I ain't got to get him on the ground. Usually, like Steve said, I'll go in, roll up to him, and I'll hold him up. You know what I mean? Just let him know, like, hey, I'm here. So you might have caught it, but you got your world rocked in the game. And so it is, and it's for these young guys. Because Texas is really young. I think they do struggle a little bit learning the practice intensity. Because when you're in high school, when you unless you're one of these guys who played on these high school teams, they got like 8, 10 to 12 D1 prospects. There are some of those guys. But for the most of us, all right, we playing with maybe 1, 2 other guys on that team that's elite level prospects. So that practice intensity in high school, very different. Your practice intensity in college is probably more like your game tempo in high school. When you actually were going up against probably like a playoff game, going up against elite talent. And sometimes for those guys, when you flip that switch, that it's game intensity. Young guys have a tough time turning it off. And it's like, whoa, man, we practice. It's like, hold up, man, you got me riled up. It's like, yeah, but we have practice. We practice with each other. And I think that's probably what happened at that last practice where they had a lot of guys getting into it. The young guys flipped that switch and they're like, "Hey, this is game mode." It's like, yeah, it is, but you still got to learn how to practice. That's why football's a sport. You practice more, you play. So you got to master practice. You got to master.
One funny story how I learned one of the reasons why I learned how to practice is I remember my freshman year, I got a little bit too close to Major Applewhite.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit too close. And the O-line coach at the time started yelling at me, right? Coach Tolley runs in, starts yelling at the O-line coach. Hey, I got him. I got him. And so I'm thinking that coach is got my back. He pulled me to the side. Hey, you don't get that damn close to him ever again.
Yeah.
I thought he had my back, and he started yelling at me, man. So, yeah,
but he did have your back, Stevie. He's like, "Don't yell at my guy. Don't you yell at my guy. That's my guy. All right, he's my guy. I'm gonna take up for him in front of everybody, and then when I get him alone, I'm gonna tell you what real." Yeah. But that's a good coach, in my opinion. That's a good coach.
Absolutely.
This is good coach. Oh, okay. One last question, Steve, before we let you go. We appreciate you taking the time. Texas #1 in the coaches preseason poll for the first time in program history to be #1 in this preseason poll. That's just crazy. I can't even believe that, by the way. What are your thoughts about everybody now believing what we all believe within the burnt orange bubble with the burnt orange glasses, that Texas actually may be the best team in college football?
I'm trying to figure out who let this Buckeye in the chat over here. But,
free country.
Yeah, I guess so, man. But I think I told y'all last week I don't see an L on the schedule. So I think they're seeing what I'm seeing. We got we're full of energy. We got a lot of people back, but we also replenished, right? Who we lost, and so. That is surprising. First time preseason #1s, I guess, in modern history or just ever.
In the coaches poll.
In the coaches poll.
Coaches poll.
That's surprising, but I hear it. I get it. And we had some down years, and when we were really up when we played, Rod. OU was really good at the time, which sucks. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this season, man. What are we, under 30 days now?
Oh yeah.
26
days.
26 days, man. We're just gonna, good that the poll came out. It doesn't mean anything until you put your hand in the ground. But it's just gonna be exciting to watch, and let's just wait and see. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. It's just, like I said, it just confirms now the pressure.
Now you had us, Rod. You had a loss on I don't know who you have us losing to, but you had us with one loss.
Yeah, I have us losing it. We're gonna lose one game. I can't see going undefeated. That's just, even Sark said that something like. Remember Sark said that? Sark literally said this past offseason, he doesn't see an undefeated champion.
Yep.
Again for the foreseeable future, and I agree with him. Which means not losing the playoffs because then you out. So the loss is going to come regular season championship game. And I just think, you're going to get one. It could be Georgia. It better not be Georgia. I hope it's not Georgia. It could be Ohio State. They're #2. And by the way, I think it's the first time, guys, in the history, at least modern history, where we got a #1 versus #2 to start the season as the opener. And I don't think it's ever happened.
Yeah, it's I hear what you're saying, man, and I hear what Sark is saying. I think he's playing politics, but I think that I don't see a loss on the calendar. I don't.
Ooh, I can't wait for Stevie to be right. I'm hoping Stevie's right here.
Let's make history.
I am praying that Stevie's right here. I can't wait to bring you back on, Stevie, in November. Stevie was right. Damn it, we're gonna tweet out what Stevie said. We're gonna get the video and clip it, put it out on social media so you can go viral. Because we want you to be right, Stevie.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, thanks, Stevie. We appreciate you taking the time, man. And get back to your regular job.
Next man up.
Oh, thanks, Stevie. That's a lifetime logo of my former teammate Stevie Lee, and joining us each and every Monday, courtesy of our good friends at Hard Grove Roofing. Hey, his coach is back with us.
Coach
There
was
you go.
taking shots too that whole segment.
out in the driveway.
There's the hat throw.
Oh, we got the we gotta get a gift of Coach throwing the hat like CJ. I like that. All right, we got some questions here. Let's hit some questions. But before we do that, I want to finish up the conversation about the coaches poll. We were just talking about it. Then we'll get to the questions, guys. I promise you. But give me your thoughts, Coach. Your thoughts. Texas #1 in the coaches poll in the preseason for the first time in the history of the coaches poll. What are your thoughts about Texas being #1?
I ain't afraid. I ain't scared. You scared?
No.
I ain't scared. Bring it on. I mean, you know as well as I do, Rod. You played 4 seasons at Texas. You know what it's like. Everybody's got you circled on the schedule anyway. You beat Texas. I mean, crap! It's saved Cliff Kingsbury's job one year by sneaking up and beating Texas. You know, it is what it is. You got a target on your back whether it says #1 in the polls or not, because you are the University of Texas. So I agree with Stevie. I say we go undefeated, win the national championship, but that's just me. But I'm not afraid of being #1. Heck no. You just practice like it and play like it. Everything you do every day says who you are as a person and as a player and what you're going to do for this football team. So everybody, like I've said 100 times before, whether you're a custodian, whether you're a water boy, whether you're the ball boy, whether you're the head coach, it doesn't matter. Everybody in between, you play like the best in the nation, the best secretary in the nation, the best everything in the nation, and you let the chips fall where they may.
Yep.
Coach,
Yeah.
I'm ready to go.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. Go. Come on.
I ain't sleeping on the couch either. I can't remember who it was that commented on that. But yeah. Now, my wife broke me of that a long time ago. We don't have a regular couch. You know, we got to go to Dallas to one of those big, nice.
You
can't remember what those places are, but I'm like, I cringe. I hide my wallet when we go in those places. This couch ain't for sleeping.
Hey, Coach, that was okay. I don't even know if you were in pregame speech mode or halftime speech mode. Yeah, exactly. Coach got me wanting to run through a wall. Coach,
I'm telling you.
Do you remember the best pregame hype speech, halftime speech you ever gave? And do you rehearse those things?
Yes. No, I don't rehearse. I go through it in my mind. But the best, I've told this story before, the best pregame speech I ever made, we were about to play Stephenville when Jackson was a senior at Brownwood, biggest game of the year for us, big-time rivalry. Stephenwood, Brownwood don't get any bigger than that in the state of Texas, in my opinion. And I was outside in the locker room. There's a parking lot behind the locker room. I'm back there getting myself psyched up, ready to go. The kids are going nuts in the dressing room. Somebody comes and tasks me and says, "Coach, we got to go." So I go in there and I'm ready to go, and they're already out on the field. They just said, "Forget coach, we're going to kick some butt." And they left with the best pregame speech I've ever made. I said absolutely nothing. And we kicked their butt from the opening kickoff to the last snap of the game. I said, okay, lesson learned.
And afterward, Coach, people are asking you, how'd your team come out so fired up? And
I said, hey, does Picasso tell you how he does his work? Does Bob Dylan tell you how he writes his songs? No, I ain't giving out secrets.
Oh man, I don't remember that story, Coach. Maybe you told it back.
Maybe I was talking to somebody else about it, but yeah, it's the best pregame speech I ever made. I tell you what, one lesson I did learn is don't get the guys so hyped up. I got them hyped up for state championship in 2002. I thought I went way overboard because they were so fired up when they went out there. We had guys like, "What? We've been doing this since day one." You know, he was so fired up and ready. You know, you got to know the emotional level of your players and what they can handle. Yeah. You've been working 16 weeks for this. You know, 16 games, 16th game of the year. You know, just do what you've been doing. You know, you don't have to get those guys biting bullets. Man, it's a state championship. This is for the national championship, #1 ranked team in the country. Don't overdo it. You got to know, you know, how to keep it real and how to be in the moment. And that was a valuable lesson learned.
Yeah. That is a good point, Coach, because I remember before that Big 12 title game, we played Colorado, and then Mac told us if we won, we were going to play for the national title. And I always thought maybe now looking back on it, that wasn't the best move. I think for some guys it helped us because it got me hyped. But for some guys, they get put way too much pressure on them. And they didn't respond well. Like you said, Coach, like, no, you do what you've been doing. You got to the championship. Go out there, do what you do. And we'd already beaten that damn team anyway. And obviously the rest is history. We went out there and imploded. All right, let's get back to the coaches poll here. CJ, give me your thoughts about the coaches poll. Texas #1 in the coaches poll. Ohio State #2. I do believe, and I believe it's Pick 6 Previews that had the stat claiming that this has never happened, that a #1 versus #2 has never happened to open up as the season opener in modern history of college football. What are your thoughts, CJ?
Yeah, I mean, great. It's great to be preseason one. Doesn't mean a whole lot. I might have a little bit different of an opinion here, and I don't mean this disrespectfully to coaches, whether it be high school level, to college level, to the NFL. But this doesn't mean a whole lot to me personally. And you're telling me for like this is my line of thought here. You're telling me that the head coach at Illinois knows what's going on at Arizona State. You're telling me that Kirby Smart knows what's happening at BYU. No shot. If you're a head coach, you know what's going on your schedule and in your conference. You don't know much going on anywhere else. So, yeah, I think it's great that this is where Texas landed, right? #1. But it's the coaches poll. And again, I don't mean that disrespectfully to coaches. They know more football. They've forgotten more football than I'll ever know. But in terms of what's going on in the landscape of college football, I find it very difficult to believe that they're up to speed with every one of these top 25 programs. But again, it's part of that offseason fodder. You need it. You're going to get it. It gets you closer to kickoff. So that's where I see a lot of this, and again, I think it's really interesting that, at the end of it, the big takeaway for me will be, how does it compare with the AP poll with guys whose jobs like it is for us now to know more about just the team that you cover. So I think it's really interesting, but at the end of the day, for Texas, the big takeaway here is you got 1 and 2 battling it out at the kickoff of the season. That's exciting. That should be the headliner for this year. And, I hope that every single year that there's a game just like this early in the schedule where you can say, all right, 2 top 10 teams are duking it out, right? You had Florida State and LSU a few years ago. That was great. Alabama and, beat the brakes off of Florida State a few years ago as well. USC had a few games like that. So I think that's great for the sport. That's my big takeaway, but ultimately I don't put a whole lot of stock into it.
Yeah, I agree with you though about everything that you said about the coaches. Like I know they're pretty much focused on their team and their conference. But I do think in terms of perception, this is a great kind of barometer, right? To kind of gauge the perception of certain programs. Like take Oklahoma. What were we talking about Oklahoma? Perception is reality, right?
Yep.
What's the perception of Oklahoma? They're trending down. The perception is they're trending down. They can't even get the blue chip. I'm not saying this is true, by the way. Sooner fans who are in the chat or whatever. But that, Jim Nagy's trying to get a discount on great athletes. They can't afford the blue chip. They're not willing to spend the money. All that kind of stuff. Venom was on the hot seat. First time since 1999 they don't make the coaches poll. First time since 1999. First time ever that Texas is #1 in preseason the coaches poll. First time Oklahoma doesn't make it since 1999 in the preseason as a coaches poll in the top 25 because the perception of the programs is so different. The perception of Texas is, oh man, Arch, Texas is trending. Hell, Texas may win it this year. They may win back-to-back because Arch is going to stay 2 years. Arch is going to be at #1. He may win the Heisman. All these, Colin Simmons is the best deep edge rusher in the country. All these things. This is about polls are about perception. And this poll tells you the perception of Texas is trending toward breaking through. And some people think they're going to be the best team in the country. I agree with CJ. That has yet to be settled. All right. Maybe Coach and Stevie Lee are right. We don't know. But the perception is that Texas is really good. And getting back to the point about you said CJ about what the real headline is. The real headline is 1 versus 2. Think about this Ohio State game now and how unique it is as a season opener. We just said it's never happened, or at least in modern football history, they're saying it's never happened, a 1 versus 2 to start the season. but you're going to have guys who will be drafted as the top players of their position in probably 5 different positions, guys, whenever they're drafted.
Mhm.
Jeremiah Smith will be the top receiver. Caleb Downs will be the top safety. Arch will be the top quarterback. Colin Simmons will easily be the top edge rusher, it looks like right now. And it's looking like Anthony Hill could end up being the top linebacker whenever he's drafted. Those are the guys I can think of right now. There's some other guys I'm sure out there that be balling too, right? Sonny Styles is a really good player for Ohio. I'm disrespecting
Well,
Ohio.
you can look at both tight ends saying, okay, perhaps Max Clare and Jack Indries, 2 of the top transfer portal tight ends in the country. We'll see where they end up.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. I'm doing a disservice to the matchup and how star-studded it is. But that's unique. And the fact that you played them. I mean, this is a rematch from last year, Texas' last game. Texas trying to avenge their last loss and defending national champion Ohio State at their place with the Arch factor. Give me a better season opener in recent college football history. Give me one in the last 50 years.
Hey, have they given a guys a kickoff time yet?
For that game?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 11.
Yeah.
Bright and early.
Still gonna be hyped though. Still going. I mean, I just don't think I don't know if a game is gonna top that this year.
No.
We'll see.
A couple things. Ryan, great comment. We're going to have this in the works coming for you soon, probably closer to that game to build up that expectation. And then Matthew, can you bring up Juan's comment?
We should rank them. We should just rank them. We should rank we should rank the best players in that game and do like a top. We probably can get to 25. Honestly, pretty easy.
Yeah, I think so. But I did want to address this because, Rod, to your point, perception is the reality. For Texas, it's going to be a nice little week, right? You can parade around a number 1 graphic, send out some mail to some top recruits and say, look at this. We're the top team in the country entering the season. It'll help then. I think it'll all be forgotten by the time that the game is played and kicked off. And, it's great that, again, week 1, week 4, you might have a number 1 by your name, but it ultimately doesn't mean a whole lot towards the back end of the season. And that's, again, where a lot of recruits start to see, okay, what product do they have on the field? Is the atmosphere what I like? What's the proximity to home? But ultimately, are they winning football games and can they get me to the next level? That's going to be determined more week 10, week 14, the postseason. That's going to be where these recruits take a lot of notice. So, yeah, again, for the graphics, for the promotion, for the marketing side, great job right now, but it ultimately won't mean a whole lot as these games get going week in, week out.
Yeah, I wouldn't toot my horn too loud if I'm Sark, because it's just like you guys say, Rod. You don't know where the loss is going to come from, but you feel like there's we're going to stub our toe somewhere. So you don't want to put too much emphasis on that because chances are not in your favor of that happening.
Yeah. No,
Also, put the cart in front of the horse. It's
that's right.
Just have it ready
like
after.
You said.
Have it ready right after the send those, right after you win, like literally on the field. Be like, now go, send it all now. Send it.
Yeah. You don't have the Aggie syndrome here where everything is sky high expectations and you under deliver every year, right?
Well, how about to that point about sky high expectations? And maybe I'm off about my take here. Have we ever had a Texas team with more pressure on it than this team? You're number 1 to start the season. You're going to start off against number 2. Arch Manning expect to win the Heisman. And if he doesn't play at a Heisman level or worthy of a Manning, there's definitely going to be people critical and blowback. And you've gotten to the Final Four the last 2 years. So the expectation is no regression, Final Four or forward. All right? That's what we're doing. Final Four, get to the national title game. And this team is really good. I don't think we've had a roster this talented since maybe 08 and 05. Like those are probably the only rosters I think maybe more talented than they're in the same conversation with a 04 or maybe the 02 roster we had that was really, really good. But that is a lot of pressure on this team, no doubt about it. This how they respond to pressure and if they can still play to that standard with that pressure will determine how this team, in my opinion, finishes this season. Because the Georgia game is full of pressure. Oh, you're at these teams. You're at Ohio State. You're at Georgia.
Yeah.
I will say this. I bet Sark doesn't even bring this up to his football team. Other than to say that's people's opinion. We got to go out and do it on the field. He's not going to be talking to recruits about it, I don't think. Everybody's going to know it. Everybody's going to see it. I don't think it's something that even comes up in this conversation other than, just like you were saying, CJ, what does it really mean? Absolutely nothing. It means nothing. It means we win the preseason hype award. That's what it means.
Yeah. Off-season champs. That was always the biggest knock for Texas. And
right.
Well, it doesn't matter anymore now that they've started to win. But I look back at last year, and fortunately, we talk about how young this Texas team is at certain positions, right? A lot of inexperience more so than youth. But for the most part, the starting 22, outside of maybe a Jack Injuries and an Emmett Mosley or name a defensive rotational piece, they were on this roster a year ago, right? These were all guys who had sky-high expectations a year ago, entering the season number 3 with a returning offensive line and a veteran senior quarterback. And you go out and you add one of the fastest players in college football at wide receiver, and now you're looking at that defense saying, okay, we got some really talented pieces here. There was pressure a year ago. And what did Texas do? Well, they went to Ann Arbor. They smacked Michigan. They go to Dallas, and they smack Oklahoma. They took care of business early in the year. Now Georgia hit them. And that's when you face adversity and see what kind of, ultimately you can overcome as the season progresses. And that's where your leadership really has to be good. But so far, this group of guys, more so than anything, has been through this already a year ago.
Yeah, those big games help. Going to Alabama helps. Going to Michigan helps. So I'm with you. They're not. Trust me. They're used to pressure, so they're not immune to it. But somebody please in the chat give me a team for Texas that's had more pressure on it than this team. And I played with Chris Sims. A lot of pressure on that man. I don't think it was this much pressure. So we shall see. All right, super chats. Let's get to a couple of super chats here. Rocky P said, "At CJ, thanks for all your long hours traveling and amazing content." Yes, CJ did a great job helping break that story today about Andre Cojo as well. So bravo there. So what are your biggest concerns against our rivals, OU and Gaggies? Hook 'em. Thank you, Rocky P, for the super chat.
Yeah, thank you, Rocky. Look, for Oklahoma, they're going to have a very talented front seven. It's going to be disruptive. Rod, to your point, you love saying the H word, havoc. They're going to create a lot of it this year. For me, can Texas in that offensive line protect? Can Texas in that offensive line displace and create running holes for the running backs? They're getting tested right now in fall camp. This is as good a Texas defensive front that I've seen. It's as good as they'll face in all of college football this year as well. So they're working from a little bit behind whenever all these pads get on and you're working in team and inside hole situations. But can that work to their advantage by the time that they get to an Oklahoma? You would think so, but until I see it, it's going to remain one of those, okay, what's it going to look like against another comparable level front seven? I think Oklahoma's got a very good front seven as well. The other thing on Texas A&M, look, they added a lot at wide receiver this year, right? Casey Concepcion is a dude. Mario Craver is a dude. Terry Bussey going into year 2, going to be a dude. But does it matter? Do they have the guy that can get them the football? Other than that, their offensive line is going to be really talented. I think that running game is going to be the strength for them. What kind of running attack with Marcel Reed can they pair up with that to give Texas fits? Fortunately, Texas has some speed at linebacker that should help the east to west running game of a Marcel Reed.
Some people believe that Oklahoma may have the best D line in the SEC. I've heard some people say that that's going to be the best, if not the best D line in the SEC. And A&M, like you said, they're really excited about their offensive line. They're one of the best offensive lines in the SEC. So line of scrimmage wise, Texas rivals are at least on either side of those expected to be really, really good. All right. Super chat here from Joshi. Joshi says, too early for grass versus turf conversation.
Coach, yeah, I knew this was coming.
Has it ever mattered to you, Coach, turf or grass?
I love grass. I love the grass. I mean, it's just most coaches, I think, will tell you that. Whether that would have prevented whether that would have prevented this apparent knee injury or not, I don't know. But you don't know. But I think most of them will tell you grass.
Yeah, I will say the knee injury for Cojo did occur at DKR. So I don't know. Again, I was told that he was rolled up on, got a little twist. I don't know if that was because of the turf, but we've had this conversation a year ago when CJ Baxter went down, when Christian Clark went down, and even before then, it was Junior Angela, it was Isaiah Nayor, guys where you see season-long injuries occur, and you're sitting there wondering, why is that the case? And I don't know. I personally prefer grass as well. I think it's more natural. I think it looks better. And Texas is moving to turf here pretty soon. I believe 2026. I could be wrong there, but I think it looks aesthetically much cleaner on the football field, especially under the lights.
And they are moving to grass, right, in the future? Is that the?
I believe so, Matthew. Maybe you can.
Yeah, I believe you're right about that, CJ. That was a report from a while ago, but I believe you're correct about that, unless there's been some kind of change. And I know usually it's a financial conversation because I know grass is way more expensive to keep than turf. Turf is more durable and all that kind of stuff. But I prefer grass as a player. So coach says coaches prefer grass, players prefer grass. I think some of the most fans prefer grass. So usually the turf thing is just more of a financial decision from the administration. Like, hey, this is going to cost us this much. Grass costs us this much. The current field service on 2020 will be replaced with natural grass around 2026. Thank you, Matthew. That's why you're the best in the business.
Thank you, Matthew. You know who doesn't prefer grass? The groundskeepers, especially in this heat.
Well, yeah, he does, because that dude, man, it's a job.
Hey, man, they love it because that field is that's their masterpiece.
Yeah, true.
They can sit back and be proud of it. But Rod, as a player in stadiums like that in the end of August, 1st September, the heat level is an unbelievable contrast. Am I not?
Yeah. Yes, you're right, Coach.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
Much. I mean, it's like maybe 15, 20 degrees hotter on the field, something like that.
Yep, easily. Yep. No, you're right, Coach. I agree with that 100%. I mean, as a player, sometimes you can feel like on the bottom of your cleats, you can feel how hot it is. Like it actually. So
I've had soles of shoes come rip it apart, the cleats, because it was so hot on the turf before in practice.
Yep. No, I've felt that too. So I agree with you, and I'm glad that Texas is going to grass. It'll be a fast grass surface. I can assure you of that. It'll be a fast grass surface. Coach, one more thing I wanted to ask you before we feel it in the stands. I'm sure you do, Salty Q. One more thing I wanted to ask you, since we were earlier talking about this, if you're a coach and we were talking about injuries to Cojo and stuff like that. When you get an injury, does it change the way your approach an early injury is? Does it change your approach?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was wanting to talk about that earlier when we were starting the show. It does, because it makes you stop and reevaluate what you're doing and say, okay, how many more of these can we afford, and what can we possibly cut from our philosophy of practice to lessen our chances. And I'm sure people, I haven't seen any, but I'm sure there's all kinds of stats on, ACL injuries with full contact versus, just skeleton shoulder pads and shorts or whatever. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of stats out there to back that. But as a coaching staff, nobody wants to see this. Everybody hates to see it. And so you always are reevaluating what you're doing and what can we afford to cut loose? What can we afford to cut back in? What areas can we afford to cut back in to avoid this? And unfortunately, with a lineman, when you get rolled up, you just get rolled up. Now, I do agree, CJ, that foot is a lot better chance of being stuck in the turf when you get rolled up on, as opposed to the ground and the dirt. And it's always a little bit moist because they water it every day, it gives a little bit. And so if you do have an injury, it'll be less of an injury because you're on grass and you're on turf. That's proven.
Yep. I agree with you on that too, Coach. Yeah. I think that is proven too. I can remember several studies that address that, and just off kind of common sense and experience, I believe that to be the case too. All right, let's thank our final sponsor before we answer a few more questions and end today's live stream. Let's thank our friends at South Point Dodge. You can score an easy extra point this season when you get to the point with our friends over at South Point Dodge. South Point Dodge right now, folks, they have over 600 vehicles in stock right now. That's a great selection. So there is something over there that I'm sure will catch your eye. In addition to these 600 vehicles, they have the all-new 2025 Ram 1500 there. You can get the real deal today and drive away in the all-new Ram 1500, proven to last. Plus, right now with South Point Dodge, you get employee incentive pricing. That's their fancy way of saying you pay what the employees pay right now at South Point Dodge. You won't find a better deal than that. They also have right now at South Point Dodge, they have a great inventory. You can go see it in person off of I-35 in South Austin, or you can go online at southpointdodge.com, and you can check out their inventory there as well. Don't forget about the employee incentive pricing there at South Point Dodge. You won't find a better deal than that anywhere, whether you need a car, truck, trade-in, something new, something used. Our friends at South Point Dodge pride themselves on being Austin's automotive everything. So check them out today at southpointdodge.com. All right, let's answer a few more questions here as we approach the end of our live stream. How about this one from Hoosier Horns? Is Christian Clark more of a short yardage back or a 3-down do-it-all back? That's a good question, actually.
Yeah, I think he's a more do-it-all guy. His body is really unique in that he has a great lower body, very thick thighs, thick lower body as well. Look, he's a guy that's going to one cut and go. I think Jarrett Gibson falls forward a little bit better, but I think that Christian Clark allows you more of a threat in the passing game, more of a threat in space. I think he gives you a little bit more of that, just get him the rock and let him see what he can do, essentially. So that's where I lean 3-down, do-it-all kind of back, as long as he can provide some sort of, plus in the pass protection game.
I agree. And he's probably your second best back in terms of running power concepts right now, behind CJ Baxter. And so I think I'm with CJ. I think he can be an every down back. I don't think Sark's gonna just bring in guys who are just short yardage backs, or they may end up turning into that, but I don't think that's what Sark wants from his running backs. He wants them to be very multifaceted running backs. But I mean, I like Christian Clark because he's always going downhill.
Yeah.
Man. And if he can learn to hold on to the football, he's just he's always his lean. I love his lean as a running back. I swear he's like literally leaning forward as he runs, and you very rarely ever see him get knocked backward or not gain positive yardage. I like that about his game. How about this one from Shivam? Says, hey guys, who do you think will be the tight end with injuries in the 12 personnel set? Right now, I feel like it's going to be Jordan Washington. I mean, I heard Jeff Banks say he's an every down tight end. So I'm assuming it's Jordan Washington. But what are your thoughts, CJ, about that?
I think you have two really solid options week one, right? Spencer Shannon's been in the system for 3 years, 6'7", 245, 50 pounds, big body enough to give you that inline blocking threat if you want to attach injuries as kind of that tight end nub or allow him to play freely in space. I do think the same for Jordan Washington. I think even beyond that, Washington gives you more of that pass catching and run blocking ability as a combination, more so than Shannon a little bit. But right now, if I was trotting out Texas's best 11 and I wanted to go 12 personnel, it would be injuries, it would be Washington, and that's where things would really start for me. And that's why I start to think, okay, how could Texas incorporate a 13 personnel set? Because you got options now, especially with Nick Townsend and Amari Winston coming along.
I do think you said maybe even later this year. I think by next year you definitely have one because you're tight end room. If Jack Hendricks comes back, he may have such a good season, he may decide to go to the NFL. I was looking at, shout out to Blake Monroe, who put out the John Mackey Award winner odds earlier this month. Actually, I think it was last week. And RJ Maryland from SMU is plus 400, but then second best odds to win the John Mackey Award for the best tight end in the country is Jack Hendricks at plus 500. So the guys in Vegas think that Jack Hendricks is going to have a hell of a year at tight end. If he does, I mean, that's it. Was because Gunnar Helm a finalist for the Mackey?
I don't believe so.
Damn, that's crazy. He had the greatest season in Texas football history for a tight end, and then wasn't even a finalist.
It was Colston Loveland. It was Harold Fannin from Bowling Green, who was unbelievable.
He was a beast.
and then the cat from Penn State, who obviously Tyler Warren, really, really talented as well. All three, I believe, went first 40 picks or so in the draft.
Yeah, it was a deep tight end draft, actually.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's a really good one. All right, let's get back to the questions here. How about this one from Juan says, CJ, does this help? Oh, so I think we already went to that one. How about this one from Andre? It says, Rod B, do you think we will be able to stop Ohio State's running attack? I don't think their running attack is as dynamic as it was last year, obviously.
Nope.
Yeah, I think the two backs you had were just special in terms of their violent twitch with Henderson and with Judkins. So I think Texas also last season had maybe more proven interior run stuffers on the D line with a guy like Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton. But from what I've seen from these guys, I like them, Coach. I like the D tackles. Like I said, I didn't get to see them in pads, but I think they have between, obviously Alex January and between Cole Brevard, between Watson, they're bringing in there, Travis Shaw, who's huge, and some of the young guys. I think they have enough bodies at D tackle to be able to hold up against the Ohio State run attack. This is the key. Last year, they were willing at times to play Ohio State with a lighter box because they trusted their defensive front to be able to stop the run with a lighter box at times. That means having fewer defenders than they have blockers. That I don't know if they'll do that this time around. Like maybe they trust their D line to be able to hold up. That's going to be the question. Do you have to devote an extra defender in the box to stop the run? Because if you do, that's a problem against Jeremiah Smith, against Gardner Tate, and at wide receiving core of Ohio State. You got to win the numbers advantage in the passing game, which means you're going to have to stop the run a lot of times with a matched box, meaning even defenders or even box or a lighter box.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be.
I think that's true. I'm just as worried about our running game. Are we going to be able to control the game with our running game? And if we are, then that's the best thing we can do for our defense, of course.
Great point.
Didn't have one last year.
Nope, not in big games.
Yeah, you were missing your running game in both Georgia games, Ohio State and Arizona State. You basically had no running game. Which
is odd because it showed up against Texas A&M. It showed up against Oklahoma.
Clemson.
Yeah. He's like, you're either running for 250 or you're running for about 30. Like, you can barely make it to first base. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say it's going to be nice having a running quarterback who will make them honor the run. Because, again, it's like playing with 12 guys on offense when you have a quarterback that's a threat when the ball's in his hands.
Boom. Coach just nailed it. That's why he's a coach. All right. How about this one? I think we discussed this earlier, but this is a good subject to get back onto before we end things because we started talking about the Andre Cojo injury, unfortunately. And CJ, while you answer this question from Scott about which interior lineman will be best suited to kick outside, give the folks who may have joined us a little bit later on because you are the one that helped on Texas Football break this story. So congrats to you and great job. What are your thoughts about who could kick out from the inside? Now they're going to be a little short-handed now with Cojo out for the season.
Yeah, if you're just joining us and haven't seen the news, we broke the news earlier this morning at On Texas Football that Andre Cojo, third-year sophomore right tackle, will miss all of 2025 with a knee injury. That sustained on Saturday as Texas continued its fall camp. Very unfortunate, but we also reported that Brandon Baker and now Nick Brooks are starting to battle out right tackle. Kyle Flood moving Nick Brooks from left tackle to right tackle, starting to get some run with that first unit. So what does that mean for Texas? Well, it means that you lose a guy that's been in the system for 3 years, a guy that's competing for a job, a guy that's been proven to be or expected to be a viable option for depth at that right tackle position. And now it looks like Nick Brooks, Jaden Chapman, kind of the two guys that you're looking at as your, tackle backups at the moment. So could someone move out from the interior? My best bet would be a Nato Umeozulu. I think that he has the best measurables, and I think that Texas also really likes what it has at guard more so than perhaps that third or fourth tackle option at the moment. So my hypothesis is, look, if one of those other tackle guys go down and you don't necessarily have that confidence in a Nick Brooks, Nato would be my pick at the moment to move out to left or right tackle, and then you move in a Cole Hudson to left guard, or you move a Nate Kibble to left guard. And if Cole Hudson bumps out, well, then it's Daniel Cruz and Connor Robertson at center, in which Texas has done a great job at building that center depth with 3 guys that they really enjoy at the moment. And of course, Devin Coleman, the twin brother, triplet brother of Jordan, now getting snaps as a true freshman now that he's on campus as well.
All right. So thank you, Scott, for the question. For those, obviously, who want more information, go to ontexasfootball.com. You can go over there. Matter of fact, right now is a great time to do it because you can become an OTFOG. Just use that code, OTFOG. Thank you very much. And you can get a year subscription to ontexasfootball.com for just $39.95. You won't find a better deal than that. And great stories from CJ Vogel and my man Jerry Hamilton and Bobby Burden and Jeff Howe and Blake Monroe doing a great job over there. So you get all your details, all the inside info. So thank you very much for you guys supporting On Texas Football. But if you want to get the best insider access, you can do it at ontexasfootball.com. All right. Last story I want to get you guys' thoughts on. Bruce Feldman does his annual freaks list. He does, I think it's 101. I think he does 101 best football freaks in college football. And of course, everybody looks forward to seeing, who on their favorite team is going to be listed here. The Longhorns do have only one selection. I thought the Longhorns would have more than one, actually. I'm not going to lie. I thought they had more than one. They have one here. Number 17. How about this? The biggest freak on the Texas football team, apparently, according to Bruce Feldman, is Trevor Goosby. A lot of tackle talk today. He said Trevor Goosby, once ranked as the 34th best offensive tackle prospect in the 2023 recruiting class, Goosby has proven to be a terrific evaluation. As a redshirt freshman last season, he started 2 games, one at left tackle and the other at right. Pro Football Focus gave him an 80 pass blocking grade for the season, which was higher than Cameron Williams, Texas starter at right tackle, although the freshman had a much smaller sample size. At 6'7", 311 pounds, Goosby clocked a flying 10-yard sprint of 1.44 seconds, grading at an extremely high level in terms of his acceleration for an offensive lineman. His max speed of 20 miles per hour this offseason was almost as impressive. He bench pressed 365 pounds and jumped the highest of any of the Longhorn O-linemen. His leaping ability and body control are also evident in the video of him doing a 360 dunk, which I think went viral as well. All right, Coach, what are your thoughts about Trevor Goosby being the freakiest athlete on the Texas football roster right now?
I'm not arguing about that one bit. You won't hear any complaints from me having Trevor on that for sure. I do, like Bobby was talking about coffee football this morning. How do you not have a Colin Simmons on that freak list,
I don't know. I don't know how he didn't make it. I mean, yeah, Colin Simmons should have made it. That maybe they're gonna put him on there next year as a really high big. I don't know how he didn't make it. I wish I could have been. I'm gonna try to go back and look at how many. Like, did Xavier Worthy make this list?
I don't know.
I gotta see who from what Longhorns have made it in the past too.
Yeah.
So,
even on top of that, you had the number 1 recruiting class in the country, and you don't have a single quote unquote freak amongst that bunch.
There's a bunch. If there was a freshman freak,
Jonah Williamson is being a freak.
We'd have a bunch of them on it,
right?
I mean, 8th grade Justice Terry probably makes this list about
sure does.
2020.
Yeah. I was surprised they didn't have more. Texas didn't have more than one guy. But Trevor Goosby, I'll give Tony Hill credit because I'll repeat the quote because it stood out to me, and there's more and more evidence to back up his claim that Texas will be more athletic at tackle even after the departure of Kelvin Banks and Cameron Williams. Will they be better? That is, he said, that'll be based on Trevor Goosby and Brandon Baker, right? But athletic, he said athleticism, just pure athletic profile. He said Goosby is more athletic, and he said Brandon Baker is more athletic. And man might be right. He did make the 17th freakiest athlete in college football. So maybe my man.
Who was number one? Who was number 1, by the way?
Oh, I can go find that for you, actually, Coach, real quick. Give me a second.
Yeah, I know who that was.
Yeah, honestly, that's a great point. I'll give me 1 second. I'm pulling it up right now. Honestly, the guy who probably should be number 1, I think Lenora Stellis could probably be on that list to be number 1. He could be one of those freaks. Let's see what they had number 1.
That might be back-to-back years in which South Carolina's had the ultimate freak, and last year, I mean, Nick Harbor is going to be in that conversation. Oh,
sure might.
I wondered if he was. I knew he'd be near the top, but he's number 1.
Caden Proctor. Yeah, that makes sense. There's Nick Harbor.
The ones the Longhorns have to play: Jeremiah Smith, number 1. There is Ohio State linebacker Sonny Styles at number 10.
Peter Woods.
That Vanderbilt tight end Eli Stowers, he's at number 15. Goosby's at 17. Jaden Ball, the running back from Florida, is at number 53. Jaden Ott, the running back from Oklahoma, is at 55. Vanderbilt has a corner on here. Vanderbilt's got 2 and Texas got 1. Vanderbilt's got a corner on here at number 67, Kobe Taylor. He's a 6'3" corner, so he's kind of freaky.
Rod, you see LSU now has a 6'5" cornerback?
I saw that. Isn't that crazy? How is that possible? How does he get in and out of breaks? I got to go watch film on this young man. I really do. That is extra freaky. And at corner, at safety, maybe. Corner? That's wild. Oklahoma has Robert Spears Jennings at 82, the DB. Brennan Thompson, a former Longhorn, he makes it at number 91 for Mississippi State. Then Micah Morris from Georgia, the offensive lineman, is at number 96. Those are the only players that Texas will play against that made the freaks list for Bruce Feldman. All right, there you go, guys. Thank you guys for all of your participation and the questions. You guys are great as always. If we missed any of your questions and comments, we apologize. Please direct them to the gentleman at Coffee and Football bright and early tomorrow morning. That'll be Bobby and Jerry. Also want to thank Matthew. He's the real MVP, best in the business. CJ, great stuff today. CJ, bravo. Breaking stories. CJ's always working hard, man. That's why we call him a prodigy. Thank you, Coach, for all the wisdom and the levity as always. And thank all you guys. Thank our sponsors as well. Thank you to Von Lane, vonlane.com. Use that code OTF25 and get $20 off your first ride with Von Lane. Thank you to southpointdodge.com. We appreciate them. And thank you to hardgroveroofing.com. And thank you to Stevie Lee coming on courtesy of our good friends at Hardgrove Roofing. And for Matthew and for CJ and for Coach and for lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee, I'm Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em homes.
Welcome. Thank you, Rod.
Thank you.